Hello, yes. This week I thought I'd review a fantasy horror film, as we don't see many of those. A Night's War, which sounds like one of those Christmas films on the Hallmark Channel, is directed by You Don't Care and stars Neither Do I. We open upon a scene in which two women are tied to a stake while a bearded man holds a torch, presumably to set them on fire. The older woman reveals that they are his wife and daughter and pleads for their lives, but he isn't moved, and sets them ablaze with all the enthusiasm of a man lighting a barbecue when his in-laws are round. Intercut with this combustible domestic drama, a heavily armoured man is jitting around some woods and a castle ruin like the guy playing Link in the old Zelda 2 adverts. Nighty Boy bursts in ready for a fight, but alas and alack, he is too late, and Ma is doing her best Beru Lars impersonation. The younger girl is curiously untouched, however, and grabs his hand in a sort of Vulcan death grip, before he wakes up with a start. Next to him, a man is asking him about his dream, and the two share some banter in the sort of accents that would make Season 1 Jaime Lannister blush.
Did you wake with such a fright? Because I felt the eyes of a little man watching me while I slept.
They are brothers, it turns out, and the nephew/son comes to tell them that someone is coming. Then we cut to an evil-looking tower where a sort of medieval diddy party is in full swing. The two brothers bicker a bit while they plan their ascent up the tower, with presumably the strongest rope in existence if it can support two large men in plate armour. They sneak silently through the tower, despite the fact they should be clanking quite loudly, and arrive at two conveniently located peepholes. I should note, by the way, that this film is dark, literally. I've had to whack the brightness up just to make the clips visible. They observe a sacrificial ritual, and the main guy notes that if they wait long enough, then everybody will have offed themselves and there will be no one left for them to have to fight. Flawless logic, to be fair. When they reach the main party room, they discuss how the ritual must be interrupted or a doorway to hell will be opened. Original. Also, look at this blindfold. That's a bandage that's been chopped up with scissors. They sneak into the room. Should have probably made it two ninjas instead of knights, would have made more sense. And ambush the evil gang conducting the ritual, which consists of a Black Knight, Emperor Palpatine Temu version, and the early 90s one-hit wonders, the London Boys. One of the gimps runs off to get reinforcements, but they don't have the budget to show you any more warriors, so you get this spear thrown at a door and some crowd noises. The main fight between Ashton Kutcher Knight and the bad one isn't bad, to be fair. Lots of grapples, and even a Mordhau grip thrown in. They fail to stop the ritual, so Beardy Knight decides to sacrifice his brother and send him on a quest into the netherworld to rescue the girl from the start of the film, now all grown up. Bodhi, his name is, wakes up in a prison cell, presumably in hell, where he meets this bloke, who tells him he's now in the land of the dead. He gives Bodhi an amulet that will allow him to die 100 times. So this is historically the first Dark Souls film, I'm going to bet, although it looks a lot more like Lords of the Fallen. He's given a quest to fight 3 lords to get 3 stones to rescue the girl, and off he goes. I do like that the filmmakers aren't even trying to hide the video game influences. This is already better than The Last of Us. Upon spawning into an area that looks suspiciously like the location at the start of the film, Bodhi is attacked by a hooded female warrior and ends up captured. He's not the brightest bulb. She reveals herself to be the woman they were trying to save from the ritual, and then tells him how much she hates men and mankind in general. But before he can even ask her Reddit username, she's released him and offered to help him kill the evil witch. Okay then. She also has this black mark across her forehead, which reminds me of the time I tried to dye my own hair as a teenager. Back when I had hair. He takes off his respawn necklace because he's an idiot, and ends up chained to a wall while this knockoff Skeletor interrogates him. Then he's jolted back, and Avalon, her name is, yes, really, tells him that the Invoker has now set his gaze upon him. The plan is for Bodhi to draw the witch out, while Avalon murks her. Apparently they're expecting to fail but can always try again tomorrow, so it's all dandy. Bodhi waits for the witch, who shows up to reel off some scary Saturday morning dialogue and then whirls around with clones of herself. She looks a little bit like a Bloodborne boss. You know, despite the low budget and awful acting, I'm almost enjoying this so far. Bodhi, of course, gets captured, and while he's being peeled like a potato, Avalon tries to grab the stone. She succeeds eventually, but the witches have noticed, and the stone turns out to be a fake. Then the witches slice her up like a large ham. Appropriate. Bodhi has been thoroughly flayed, but his amulet kicks in, so he wakes up back where he started. Avalon is back too, sadly. He's not too happy at being betrayed by her, but they agree to team up properly this time to take out the witches. She also explains that she willingly went to the bad guys at the start of the film, so they didn't need to rescue her at all. They then attack the witches and keep dying over and over in a sequence any Souls game player will relate to. These sequences do go on a bit too long though, and given the budget it's all very close up. After quite a few deaths, they realise that damaging one witch will hurt the others. They also work out that the witches are blind. I mean, look at them. It doesn't take a genius to realise they can't see through those carnival masks. They manage to take out the witches, finally, and get the stone, but this random woman tells Bodhi that Avalon will betray him again. He wakes up back at the sort of hub of this world and has a chat with that bloke who tells him well done before joining Avalon in the bathhouse. She's having a bath in the tears of the tormented, which I'm sure is a line I saw on LiveJournal once, and tells him she wants to find a special epic weapon guarded by the final lord. They set out and we have a new location. They're out in the snow. Perks of filming in Canada, I guess. They run into this knight, who offers to team up with Bodhi so they can share the girl, the old romantic. Bodhi, though, being a modern sort of chap, declines, and then they have a punch-up. The bigger knight gets the upper hand, but Avalon rushes in and shanks him before ripping off his amulet and making him rage quit the game. I mean vanish in some CGI. Sleepy time now, and Bodhi is having more bad dreams. The two sinister horned characters are tormenting him that Avalon will betray him again, etc., etc. This film could have used a script editor. The whole thing feels like it was generated from a prompt saying, write me the most generic fantasy film script you can think of. Budget $8 at a Tim Hortons. They stand on a cliff edge and take in the sunrise. I have to say, whether by happy accident or not, the outdoor locations are great in this film. The upcoming Elden Ring filmmakers should take note. Avalon and Bodhi debate the nature of the light, basically God in this setting, and Avalon is still bitter about everything, while Bodhi is still a good boy who says his prayers. They then venture into a dark forest area, and Bodhi sees an illusion of his nephew. He's troubled by this, but Avalon, the edge lady, mocks notions of family loyalty. She's a real charmer. Bodhi touches a nerve by correctly guessing that her father tried to burn her alive, and she unleashes a spell at him. Shame she didn't remember how to do that earlier when she was being batted around by witches. An evil voice opens up a dark portal, and Bodhi gets sucked in. It's our old friend Not Skeletor, and he pulls in Avalon to join the fun. Bonehead smacks them around a bit, then sends them back to the woods for some reason. But Avalon seems to have caught a chill from this, so Bodhi wraps her up and hugs her like they're posing for one of those cringy couple photos. In the night, Bodhi gets woken by this dark tower thing, and then teleported into a bath. Something for the ladies there, he's even got his nips out. Whoa. Mask Lady is back, and she shows him some visions of Avalon and tells him once again that she will betray him. Then she gets into the bath with him, but keeps her mask on. Not shampoo night, then. Lilith, her name is, tells him that the Invoker has the most powerful weapon in the world, and if he teams up with her, she'd be his queen. I mean, steady on, he hasn't even seen the top half of your face yet, love. You could have a scabby forehead or a negative canthal tilt. She offers him the second stone, which he takes, then tells her to sod off. Bodhi wakes up with Avalon all back to full health, and they trudge off through some more Canadian wilderness and get into another row. Honestly, it's like they've been married for 20 years at this point. He gives her the second stone and then she betrays him. I know, shocker, right? And Sonic booms him off a very small cliff, causing him to have a heroic breakdown. It doesn't last very long, however, and he goes charging through a convenient dark portal back to fight Skullhead, who it turns out is not the Invoker after all, he's the Gatekeeper or something. I'm long past caring at this point. They have a sword fight and Bodhi ends up freeing up Avalon enough to use her magic and save the day. With the Gatekeeper defeated, they step through a door and confront the real Invoker, who is of course this bloke. Honestly, the twists in this film are giving The Sixth Sense a run for its money. The Invoker tells Avalon to take the magic sword and strike Bodhi down. He speaks solely in whispers, the Invoker, so they must have filmed his scenes when the director's parents were asleep upstairs. Avalon has a change of heart and refuses to take the sword, so the Invoker sends her into a dream sequence with her mum, who jabs her up. Bodhi attacks the Invoker, who laughs off his noobish antics, so he cuts off Avalon's respawn necklace. The Invoker then changes tack and tries to tempt Bodhi with visions, but he's like, nah, get bent, and then Avalon chokes out the bad guy while Bodhi sets him on fire. Effective, I guess. Bodhi and Avalon then team up to burst out of the sacrificial bathtub from the start of the film, just in time to help William fend off an army of angry cultists, who of course we don't see. Roll credits. I mean, it's not going to be dethroning Lord of the Rings anytime soon. It was poorly scripted and the acting was, I guess, Dark Souls level, if I'm being kind. There were quite a few good fights, and the effects were decent enough in an understated, low-budget kind of way. Maybe one to stick on in the background while you're farming in an RPG or something. Bye then.